Welcome to the Enchanted Ears podcast,
where we discuss anything and everything Disney.
I'm Angela.
And I'm Joe, and on today's episode, we're talking about some of the more hidden things at Disney.
Yes, things that are not in plain sight.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I feel like, I don't know, maybe like a year or two ago, it was really big on the internet, like the iceberg of like fandoms. Not like an actual iceberg, but like how, you know how iceberg, like, you can just see a portion of it, but underneath the surface, there's like a much larger hunk of ice, for lack of a better word. And people did this with like different fandoms. And
submerged beneath the surface.
Yeah, so it's like, hey, I'm a runner, but under running is trail running.
Do you really want to start talking about running
please
right
tell
now?
Me what is under running?
You're going to get me off on a tangent.
Well, it works out because we're actually recording this early because we're going to be at Disneyland for the Disneyland Half Marathon, which happened, when you're watching this, happened in the past, so time travel. So we're ahead. So running kind of fits in. So yeah, like an iceberg of running. So under running, what we have trail running, ultra running,
marathon running.
Yeah,
I mean, there's road running.
Beep beep.
Yeah, I was thinking that. Yeah, so you have different styles, and I mean, like, there's different blankets. Like with marathon running, you're running really fast the whole time if you're competitive. If you're like a competitive person, not me.
Oh, right.
I'm jogging. But if you're trail running, you know, if you get to a big hill, you might walk and hike, and ultra runners do a lot of. I told you you're going to get me off topic.
The iceberg. Thank you for beautifully illustrating it.
I mean, I would love to have a running podcast as well.
So this is kind of like the Disney iceberg. So it's hidden stuff. So maybe you go to the parks, you're a fan. I've been to Disneyland. I've been to Disney World. I know it's a small world. I know Pirates of the Caribbean. There's so much more hidden
surface
stuff.
level
Yeah,
stuff.
Exactly. There's so much more hidden stuff past that. And so we thought we would highlight like some of our favorite things in the parks, kind of in the fandom as a whole, some specific attractions. We thought we'd talk through that. So as I mentioned, we're pre-recording this. No Disney news this week because we're recording this ahead of time. But do want to mention again, we are on YouTube. So if you want to see this and not just hear us, if you just listen to us on Spotify or Apple, wherever you get your podcasts, you can head over, look for Enchanted Ears Podcast over on YouTube. We are recording all of these and putting them up on YouTube. All right, so let's jump into this. Some of like our favorite hidden, lesser known things at Disney. So I'm going to start with one of my favorite, and it's a personal favorite because Angela did not believe that this existed. And I think that's why I love it so much, even though we have never actually done this.
No, we haven't.
But when I told you about this, and so I'm talking about the amphicar at the boathouse at Disney Springs. And we were out there, and I'm like, watch, this car's going to go in the water. And you're like, no, it's not. Like, it's just like a photo op thing. And I'm like, no, let's just stand here for a minute. It's going to go in the water. And then it did. And your mind was blown. And you're like, I had no idea cars did that. And I feel like a lot of people probably don't know.
I was going to say, most cars don't do that.
Yeah, this is
which is why this is interesting.
Yeah, this is the only car that does it, but it's at the boathouse at Disney Springs. So if you've ever eaten at the boathouse, you may or may not have seen these
Very
cars.
delicious.
Yeah, it's a great place to go eat.
Good rolls.
Yeah, it's a good point.
And I like bread, but if I recommend bread, you know it's good.
Well, the thing too is if you go and eat at the boathouse, you get a $25 discount to ride the amphicar. Mm-hmm. But I looked a little bit of the history up of this car because I was like, where is this from? Like, is this a real car?
There are people who privately own these cars.
Yeah, they're real cars. This isn't just something that Disney had. So it debuted on April 1st. So like even its debut was a joke. Yeah, 1961 at the New York Auto Show. It was sold between 1961 and 1968, and they sold about 3,900. Only a few hundred of them remain. Now, according to allears.net, it gets 32 miles to the gallon on the road, which is pretty good, I feel like, for a car that was built in the 1960s, but only 1.5 miles per gallon as a boat. And then it's debuted in 2015 at the Boathouse, and apparently Disney did like a lot of like rework on it to increase like the safety and reliability of it, because that was one of the issues with these. It's like, okay, if you're going from the road to the water, like you obviously have rust issues, and you got to make sure, like they were watertight, but over time I'm sure like that went away, and just like general safety issues. So Disney kind of modified them to be able to like use them as frequently as they do. But this was a legit car that was sold that you could take from the water to the road, and vice versa. So it's a cool piece of history, and it fits in well with the boathouse because the boathouse is kind of all themed around cars and boats and stuff like that. And it just ties in so well.
Yeah. And I mean, as long as you have $165,000, you could maybe buy your own.
Oh, is that what they cost?
That is the highest recorded sale for a 1964 Amphicar. And that was on April 15th, 2023.
Oh, so pretty recent.
So, but my question was, and this is why I kind of stumbled across that, is how much did these originally cost? Like in the 1960s when they originally debuted, how much were they? Because I mean, it's in between a car and a boat, so I would imagine it's a luxury item. They had to be expensive.
I think I looked it up. I don't think it was like that unreasonable. And again, it's hard because like, okay, it could say 1960, it was like $4,000, and we think, oh, that's nothing, but really in today's money, like it's a lot more. But I don't think it was anything like too crazy, like expensive. I think they had high hopes for selling these, but obviously they never like sold a ton, because how many people want to like drive their car into a lake? Like, I don't know. It just seems like a weird thing to like want to buy.
Yeah, it's very niche. Like you have to live near a body of water. You have to be willing to also take your car into the water. And I imagine like also, there's maybe like seaweed and things.
Oh
in
yeah, you have
areas,
to like you have to wash your car
and
off,
it could
right?
get like caught in the mechanisms of like the bottom of your car and probably cause problems. I don't really know, so I'd imagine these didn't run super great.
So don't
for
buy
a very
one.
long time.
Just go to Disney Springs and ride in one.
Yeah.
So that's one of the more obvious ones, because like if you do go to Disney Springs, like you can see it, but I don't feel like it's super obvious because again, you didn't know it was there. Like you can quickly walk past it if you're not really paying attention. If it's crowded, if there's not people like standing there watching it, you can definitely miss this.
Well, there's a lot of restaurants down there, and again, sometimes it gets a little overwhelming of where do you want to eat, and so it's very easy to miss places that you are not familiar with.
And you're just focused on, I'm going to Gideon's, because Gideon's is right around the corner. It's like all you can see is the cookies, like,
or maybe you
get tunnel vision,
or maybe you're not interested in the boathouse's menu, and you're like, so
you just bypass
you
it.
Just completely glaze
over. That's what I'm saying.
When you walk by.
Sometimes you're just walking, like where you're going.
Right.
You're going to the world of Disney. You're going to the Lego store, and like you're not even paying attention, so
right.
so you can kind of miss it. But it's awesome if you've not seen it, like. Next time you're at Disney Springs, definitely stop down and check it out.
Right. One of my next favorite things about Disney, one of the hidden things at Disney, is over in Epcot, you can go and see Beverly. Meaning...
see Beverly.
Well, she has a person name. So,
yeah, that's a drink.
It is a drink. So you can go and you can go to, it's Coca-Cola.
It's the world of Coca-Cola.
Yeah, it's run by Coca-Cola. And you can go and try various Coca-Cola products from all over the world. One of the most famous of which is Beverly, which is objectively horrible.
I think it's an Italian soda. And this is in Epcot. It's over.
Is it meant to be mixed with alcohol? Like where?
Yeah, I don't know.
What? I can't imagine somebody is out there drinking Beverly like, how refreshing this is.
Well, it's funny. I think I saw an article recently of like the worst drink in the world is everybody's favorite. Like it was like this whole thing about how everybody loves Beverly even though it's not good. Because it's taken on a life of its own at Disney amongst Disney fans. I think with social media and stuff, like, it was like, oh, let's trick somebody into drinking Beverly and getting their reaction. And it just became this whole thing where now everybody's like, I got to try this. Is it really that bad? Are these people being serious? Let me trick my friend. It became this whole thing. And I think it took on a life of its own that now, everybody wants to try. Everybody knows Beverly. Like if you go there and they're out of Beverly, like you're upset.
Well, I have to say though, I don't think Beverly is the worst.
No, it's just the one. There's other ones.
It's the one with the most recognizable name because I can't remember what country.
I think the other ones changed though. That's what I'm saying. Like I think the other sodas change, and to an extent. Like, I don't think they're always 100% the same.
Because there's like a melon one that I think is usually there, and I really like that one. And there's another one, I think it's like a raspberry flavor that I also really like.
But like, there's always Beverly.
But
That's
again, their names don't stick in my mind like Beverly does.
It's this whole thing. But it's an Epcot if you enter through Spaceship Earth, it's on your left.
Listen, you don't have to know the mapping
it's
of
like if you're
Epcot
going
at
Guardians.
all. If you go there one time, you will remember where Beverly is, or at least that's my personal experience.
I was gonna say that's the only place you know in any of the parks is where to go find Beverly. But yeah, it's basically like you're going towards
my friend Beverly,
Guardians of the Galaxy or like Mission Space. It's kind of over that way.
I think I've only tried it like one time.
Yeah, it's a couple of times. But again, it's in a place like that building. It's not very big.
It's inconspicuous.
Yeah, it's not a big space, so it's someplace you can kind of walk to. The next one I know is another one, Angela, that you love.
Oh, it's near and dear to my heart.
That we have known about for a long time, but only on our most recent trip got to experience. And that is seeing animal procedures, veterinary procedures at Rafiki's Planet Watch in Animal Kingdom.
So I feel like somebody should start a daily why don't I do this? I shouldn't even say this out loud.
Just move to Florida.
YouTube channel about whatever procedures are going on.
Yeah, do like a little like TikTok or reel for it.
I mean, like it is so fascinating. I mean, I think we sat there for 2 hours and watched this warthog get like essentially a root canal.
Yeah, you definitely sat there. I kind of stood like, we gonna go?
Yeah,
go?
Yeah, you kept giving me that look.
And
of
then
like,
at one point I was like, okay, we've been here long enough. I do kind of want to see how this ends. Like you kind of get roped in, yeah.
But it's just really cool. The keeper, like they brought a keeper out to talk about the warthog and
they always, yeah. I mean, it's well done in that, and even like again, so you love animals.
I love
you
animals.
wanted to go see this, so
yeah,
you were gonna be entertained just no matter what. But as somebody. And I enjoy zoos. I enjoy animals. Like, but
you're just not
the
as
level
into
of
it as me.
But it was well done in the fact that they always had somebody out there, and they rotated like every 15 or 20 minutes, like the keepers or somebody from Animal Kingdom, and one person had the tooth they were working on. One person like was the keeper, and so you could ask questions and get different perspectives from different people, and so it kept it somewhat fresh and entertaining because there's not necessarily a lot of action. It's kind of hard to see what they're doing to the animal in some respects. Like when they were doing a CT scan, that was cool because you could see the stuff on the screen. But like once they got into surgery, it was kind of tough. But it did keep it interesting of like, hey, here's a new person to talk to. Like, oh, and then you could also just ask them of like, what were some cool procedures you've seen here? And they're like, oh, last week there was a monkey in here and, it's a bird. Like there's always something new. And so like it makes it entertaining enough that you kind of want to stay, whereas again, it's what Disney does well, whereas like they could have just not had anybody out there and you'd watch for a couple of minutes and be like, what's going on? Well, I don't know. Nobody knows. Okay, I'm leaving. But there was somebody there to tell you what's going on, to keep you engaged in it, want to know like what's going to happen.
Well, it is cool too, because I mean, because the show, the magic of Disney's Animal Kingdom exists, when you go to see the window, you almost feel like you were watching a live episode of that. And
they're like celebrities. I was like, there's that one I know, that person I know,
right,
that person.
like
I think it was Dr. Ryan, I think.
Yeah, I'm trying to
doing it.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember, but it was there were definitely a few doctors that I recognized from the show, and then it was just really cool because even after the fact, like I remember, they're focused on the animal, but after one of the doctors stepped out and like was even like pointed me out and was like, yeah, you've been here this whole time. And I'm like, how did you even know?
They answer questions.
Yeah, you were like focused on the animal, but like you knew that I stayed and watched the whole time because I was the only adult sitting cross-legged on the floor
you weren't
with
the
the
only
children.
Adult. I will say though, you weren't the only adult. There were other adults there the whole time. But yeah, it's mostly kids, and it's again, not a lot of people stay the whole time.
Right.
But this is, again, if you want to do this, it's in Rafiki's Planet Watch. It happens like very early in the morning though. So if you're somebody that goes to Animal Kingdom,
you would want to go like pretty much right away.
Right. And if you rope drop, that's what I was going to say. Like if you go and you're somebody that like wants to rope drop Flight of Passage, you're going to miss this because you're going to be riding rides and it's going to be done. But the thing is,
did we end up riding anything first?
No, I think we went straight there.
And it was, pretty immediate.
Yeah, I think I want to say it was like 9 or 10 is when it had started.
Mm-hmm.
But you can ask, there's a guest relations as soon as you go through the turnstiles to your left in Animal Kingdom, which also has a cool pin board. kind of secret pin board back there, if you're interested in pin trading. But there's guest relations back there, and you can ask them what the schedule is, because they basically do it every day. I want to say there's 1 or 2 days a week that they do not schedule any procedures, but for the most part, there is a procedure going on, and they'll tell you what's going on. Oh, it's just, it's a checkup, it's a surgery. Like, they'll give you some information so you can kind of decide, like, oh, that's something cool I want to see, or maybe they're not doing anything. So, like, you can kind of then gauge, do I need to run back and go see it? They'll kind of let you know what time it's going to happen. So if you're interested, it's not like you have to kind of guess when this is going to happen.
Another thing that we found, over the years as people that go to Disney a good bit that we really enjoy is to look into the various tours that they offer. A couple ones that we've done, and I'm not going to give their like real names, but we've done the surf lessons before.
The real names.
Yeah, because I'm sure they have, their Disney names of like big wave surf.
Yeah,
at Tsunami Cave.
It's
I don't really know.
Typhoon Lagoon surfing. As one. I'll let you continue with the names, because I want to hear what names you come up with these.
There's Don't Get Eaten by a Hippopotamus,
or the Wild Africa Trek.
There is Oh My Goodness, we're on the first floor of of Magic Kingdom.
The Keys to the Kingdom tour.
And there is also
behind the scenes of your favorite boat ride, aka the Behind the Seeds tour at the Land Pavilion.
That's right. I forgot we did that one.
Yeah. And there's also on top of all of those ones that we've done, there are additional ones. So you can actually scuba dive in the aquarium in Epcot. I also think there is snorkeling. Like, if you're not certified to scuba dive, I think you can snorkel in there as well.
Scuba?
Yeah, if you're not for scuba. And that's just Walt Disney World. We've done, over in Disneyland.
Yeah, what was the one? It was like the 100th
It was a special one for the 100th. They also have one that takes you into Walt's apartment. I think it's called Walking in Walt's Footsteps, or some like variation of that.
I like that, though. If that's not what
it's
called.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I did not make that up, trust me. There's tours over at Disneyland as well. The Keys to the Kingdom one is awesome because, as you were saying, the first floor of Magic Kingdom, you get to walk through the utilidors, like the secret tunnels, which is basically just like employee break rooms and stuff. Like, it's really weird. You expect it to be something crazy, and it's just like, hey, that's where Jim eats his sandwich at lunch. Like it's like a very weird experience.
Jim the Pirate?
Jim the Pirate. Yeah, that's where Jim the Pirate eats his lunch there.
Her lunch.
Okay. Oh, yeah, from our flag means
death.
That Jim. Yeah. Okay. I got you. But the tours are something that Disney really does not advertise. Like, if you're going to take a trip to Disney World, I feel like that's not something you advertise.
You don't think about that.
Well, and it's not something that's front and center. They're too busy talking about Genie Plus. They're talking about dining plans. They're talking about hotel packages, park hopping, minivans, bus transportation. Like, there's so much other stuff that you're not even thinking about tours, and it's on the website, but like, you really kind of have to look for it.
Yeah,
but they're awesome. Like, they're so cool.
I am really curious to know how many open slots there are on a lot of these, because I have to imagine
they're always full when we go on them.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like they're always full, but I have to imagine that there are a lot of people that say like, oh, there's a tour going on right there, and they explain like, oh no, this is like a paid tour that we do, and then people that are there might want to try to book while they're in.
Yeah, you sign up for it.
Yeah, like while they're in park, because that's maybe how they learned that they even existed. So yeah, they really are very kind of undercover. There's not even like, you'd think they'd make like posters for things and say, hey, like, check out our behind the scenes tour of this. Yeah, I think the only place I've ever seen any sort of advertisement is the behind the scenes tour, because I think they mention it in Living with the Land.
They mention it with Living with the Land, and I feel like how we kind of first got started on it, because I do think on Kilimanjaro Safaris they mention it as well. That's where the Wild Africa Trek.
Was that our first? That was one of our first, because we did that one and the surfing.
Surfing. But what I was going to say is how we found out about the surfing, and that Disney's missing out on this now. The Magical Express, because they advertised. Because when you're going to and from the airport, they have a captive audience, and they try to sell you on stuff. They were showing the tour and like, hey, you can learn to surf at Typhoon Lagoon. And we're like, that's awesome. We got to do that next time we're down here. And otherwise would have had no idea that existed, because again, it's at the water park. not a lot of people go to the water parks. Like, it's not something that's going to jump out at you. Whereas, yeah, they mention them on some of the other attractions, but not to that level. Something very easy that you can miss, but well worth it, especially Keys to the Kingdom. That one takes 5 hours. Behind the Seas is an hour. That one's like $20. That's your cheapest one. That one's quick. That one's awesome too. So like, if you don't have a ton of time, but you want to go on a tour that takes you behind the scenes and you learn a little bit more, that's a good one to go on because it's an hour. I think you can pretty much walk up to that one and say, hey, when's the next tour leaving, and get in on it.
I would not do any of the tours again that we've done. Like, they are all really well done. So yeah, they are just such a blast, and you get to, the thing is, like, Disney doesn't really hire bad people. Like, they don't hire
like top of the
everyone.
Top to be the tour guides.
And when they're the tour guides, they know so much, and you get such really great like intel about whatever it is that you're trying to do, about surfing,
when we did the 100th tour, our tour guide said, I think it was 3 days of training. And then you have to give a tour for the executives and other cast members to even be allowed to do the tour. So like, it's very
it's
like
kind of
detailed
like intense.
All right. Moving on, the DuckTales game at World Showcase is a lot of fun. And again, this is something you would never know about. There's also a Pirate's Adventure at Magic Kingdom. And I feel like that one's even more, that one's even more hidden than DuckTales.
Yeah.
But DuckTales, it's on the Play Disney app.
Yes. And this is really funny that you mentioned this, and we're doing this episode today because when I was on social media earlier today, I saw somebody with a video of Mexico, like on top of the building, one of the buildings in Mexico. Scrooge McDuck pops out with a laser cannon, and they're like, it's super weird when you're at night and all of a sudden above Mexico, Scrooge pops out with a laser cannon. And like, this person who posted this didn't know why that was happening.
They just thought it was happening.
And so like, people in the comments were explaining, I think this is the DuckTales experience.
Adventure. Yeah, it's awesome. They have, so it's on the Play Disney app, and then you go around World Showcase in different countries, but then they have hidden animatronics and stuff that kind of pop up. The Pirate's Adventure over at Magic Kingdom, you get it. We actually ate right next to where you enter for this. This is right by Pirates of the Caribbean and like the Tortuga Tavern. There's like some like tables over there. We actually ate there last time we were at Magic Kingdom. We kind of just like sat down and had a snack. And we were right next to the building where you go and pick up the treasure map to start the Pirate's Adventure.
Yeah.
And completely missed it.
Yeah.
There's a sign that says like,
it's the crow's nest is where you go, and you go inside, and there's like a little, basically like a kiosk.
Yeah.
And you have to get the talisman loaded onto your magic band. And that is how you activate, I guess, like, that's how you activate the animatronics. It is very much like the DuckTales experience, where there are different things you
go in like the gift shop for pirates, and there's like hidden stuff within that gift shop that activates as part of this that you would never know is there.
Right, and I don't think
really awesome.
I've ever seen anybody do any of these. Like, we've never done this.
Yeah.
So it's really cool.
Yeah, so we should.
And there are different missions too. Like, I think there's
5.
4 or 5.
I think there's 5, and then if you do them all,
different maps.
And then if you do them all and go back, they give you like a card that you like completed it. Is what happens on there. But those are 2 awesome ones. I feel like those are 2 good ones too, especially if you have kids, to kind of like entertain them, like, hey, let's go explore and find stuff, and then like some cool stuff happens, like.
Well, I think it would be a good way.
They're fun for adults too. I love the DuckTales one.
They're a good way to break up your day, because if you're with a kid and they're kind of getting tired of riding or even waiting in line, this is something that you can do that's different.
They're like 10 or 15 minutes,
and kids love like finding stuff.
Yeah,
so
and they're short, like
or adults that are children.
Like the Pirates Adventure one, I think, is about 15 minutes. Each of the DuckTales one, I think there's like 6 or 7 countries. They're maybe 10 minutes each. So if you did them all, it's probably going to take you like an hour.
I feel like they took more than 10 minutes.
10 or 15, but it's maybe going to take you an hour and a half to do all of them. But you could also do one country and then come back. So that's good. Another one, this is something we haven't done, but you can meet and actually ride the horses at the Tri-Circle D Ranch. The stables are open from 10 to 5 every day. This is over at the campsites at Fort Wilderness, if you want to check that out. But that's pretty cool. You can go horseback riding and meet the horses that like pull the Cinderella's carriage for like the weddings and stuff like that. Yeah. That's pretty neat to be able to see that as well.
Yeah, really cool. And then another interesting thing about the parks is if you are over in Disneyland, you can go and see the Little Man of Disneyland. So actually last time we were at Disneyland with our friends, Jennifer and Kiefer, they pointed this out to us and said, "Oh, we have to take you to go see this."
And I had no idea what they were talking about.
I think that we didn't actually end up going to see it, so I don't think we still have seen it, but it is his name is Patrick Begora. He's a leprechaun, and his house is built in Adventureland into the side of a tree. It's like at the base of the tree, and it's right by Indiana Jones. And it is based on a 1955 Little Golden Book. And so they because those are those books for kids that Disney
it's just like a little
had.
hidden detail that they
built in
and
there. So they built him a little house, and it's so cute. Like, I saw a picture of it. So next time, when we're there,
when we were there
this
again,
week, last week, we have to remember to go check this out.
Yeah. And then speaking of Indiana Jones, so we'll kind of jump into a few things on attractions. So at Disneyland, the Indiana Jones attraction, I believe there's a rope you can pull. There's definitely one outside of the Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular in Hollywood Studios, and it says do not pull rope, but you can pull it. And if you pull it,
and as an avid rule follower, I
never pulled it. Yeah, but if you pull it, there's a sound effect as if basically somebody was using that rope and you pulled it out from them and they kind of falling down this well type thing. So that's a fun little Easter egg. But also within the queue of the Indiana Jones attraction, this will be something we have to try. When you're in the room that's held up, the ceiling's being held up by the bamboo, apparently if you push one of the bamboo that's holding up the room, the ceiling actually falls a foot. There's this whole sequence where there's sound effects and the ceiling actually falls. Now, I've read mixed things on it's working, it's not working, how reliable it is. And after the last refurbishment, it seemed to have come back, so maybe it's working more reliably, but it's kind of hit or miss with it.
Or maybe that was just a problem that they had and people just kept breaking it over and over again. That's why it's unreliable.
It was a real bamboo stick holding up the ceiling.
It stayed broken after somebody did it. Oh, you got to press on it right here.
Yeah. No, so
that's
again,
my theory.
Yeah, so you can try it, but like I said, it's kind of, I've seen mixed reports on how reliable it is, but that's pretty cool. If you push that, the ceiling falls down.
Right.
Another kind of cool little thing, and we did get to experience this, is Chewie mode on Smuggler's Run.
Yes.
So if you're a fan of Smuggler's Run, you can actually, there's this hidden mode, because it's basically a giant video game. So video games, there's hidden levels and stuff,
right,
where you can activate where Chewie is the pilot, or the person talking to you instead of Hondo, and it's just him yelling at you and you can't understand what he's saying.
Yeah. So he's
it makes it very difficult to know when to do stuff, because Hondo tells you fire the cannon, do this or that, and it's just Chewie yelling. You're I don't know what's going on, but it's a lot of fun.
Well, it was really fun because when we did it, we had a big group, and there were 4 of us, I think. And there were 2 extra, wasn't it? I think, is that how many
we had one extra person? Yeah, I think we had one empty seat.
Yeah, we had one empty seat, and this guy was from Britain, never been on the ride before, and then he was we're gonna try to get Chewie mode, and he's oh, that sounds cool, and then we had to kind of explain to him what to do, because Hondo wasn't there, but he was we were having such a blast that we probably had him have he either got off and was whoa, those Americans were really crazy, or he was that was so much
fun. He
fun.
said he had a fun story because he was in the single rider line, his whole family was, and he was oh, I'm gonna have a great story to tell my kids that I did this really cool thing that you didn't get to do, that a lot of people don't get to do.
Yep.
Now we had a cast member help us, because we said, can you help us get Chewie mode?
And she was basically hands off of everything.
Yeah, she was don't touch anything, I'm taking over. But if you're interested in doing this, you need again the whole group to kind of do this. Everybody has to buy in because everybody has their part. So what you do is you buckle up, but do not activate anything. The pilots have to push their joysticks to the extreme one way or the other. The gunners and engineers have to hit a white button and then activate. So basically, if you're the left pilot, you have to go fully to the left or right. I can't remember if they're left, right, up or down, but you go one direction and then activate. The other pilot goes extreme one direction, activates. Engineers, gunners, they have to hit one of the white buttons and then activate. And you have to do all of this before the cast member finishes their safety check and kind of locks you in to go. So that's kind of the steps you have to do.
I feel this is performing a fatality in Mortal Kombat.
And it's not I thought it was everybody had to do it at the same time. And it's definitely not that, because when the cast member did it for us, she was just like, all right, everybody hands off, buckle in. And then she just came one at a time and did like joystick
like,
button,
boom, boom.
joystick button. But, you know, like she just went and did each of them at one time. So it's not like everybody has to activate at the exact same time or anything like that. It's just kind of don't push anything else, just kind of push the right sequence. But it's a lot of fun once it gets rolling. So. Mm-hmm. All right, and then for our last one for attractions, on Toy Story Mania, there are like secret levels you can get to. Won't talk about all of them, but like you can look these up if you're interested. But like, for instance, there's one called Ham and Eggs. So this is in the first round. When you're in the barn, if you look at the top corner, if you hit the horse, chicken, and mouse that's running around the barn, it will flip over, causing all the other points on the animals to go up. And then there's like different ones. There's like the Green Army Men have special points. So like there's all these hidden levels on Toy Story Mania. So again, it's a game, it's gamified. The more you play, the more you try stuff out, you're going to find these like secret levels for higher points. But if you're interested in like raising up your score or trying to find some of these secret levels, definitely go Google it, because it'll explain exactly like what to look for, you know, like what you have to hit. But if you do these certain things, and some of it involves like teamwork, like both people in your car doing it, I think that's how, like when you ride it, you see people get like 900,000 points and you're like, I got 30. How did these people do this?
They
like,
have some sort of a cheat code.
Yeah,
it's because they kind of do.
Yeah, they did have a cheat code exactly for this. So. All right, and then kind of wrapping up with Disney fandom. So a couple things within the fandom, and again, this is something that as you go to the parks and as you grow in Disney fandom, you start to pick up on this and you understand this, and then you start to notice that like, oh yeah, the other people in the parks are doing this, but like if you didn't know about it, you would never see it. So one thing is Disney bounding.
Yes. So Disney bounding is essentially like you are wearing like your normal clothes, but you are wearing them in such a way that you are patterning them after a character. And so you can put like nice like nods to a character in it. So for example, if you wear a light blue shirt, a darker blue pair of pants with like a red belt, you would look like the genie from Aladdin. And so you know, you can go kind of like subtle with it, or you can go like over the top with it. Some people incorporate jewelry and headwear into it to make it even more overt. You can use lounge fly bags to sell it even more, or to tip your hat.
Hold on. I'm going to stop you right there.
Towards what you're doing.
I feel like you slipped that in there as a way to be like, this is why I have so many lounge fly bags.
I've been really good lately.
You have been.
I got to a point where I was like, I have too many of these, and I need to back off.
Can one ever have too many lounge fly bags? Especially if they help you Disney bound. I feel like there's never too many lounge fly bags.
Well, now I'm at the point where I'm like, I think I probably need like some crossbody bags. I have a lot of backpacks.
Yeah.
I need something for a little bit more diversity, so that if I don't want to be wearing a backpack,
more on the go. You need a little bit more on the go. I get
Yeah.
it. But yeah, so overall, I mean, Disney bounding, it's a similar idea to cosplaying, but you're not fully cosplaying. So like if you're familiar with cosplaying or like Comic-Con and you see people are like dressed up in full costume, it's not that, because as an adult you can't dress in a full costume in a Disney park unless you're there for like a Halloween party. So to your point, it's wearing your everyday clothes, it's wearing normal clothing to look like the character that you want to do. And some people, like you said, I mean, they will add things like maybe like ears, you know, of kind of like a headpiece, because you know, like sometimes like Disney makes ears that look like the character or something like that,
or like, you can find them on you can find them on Etsy, like
or you have like that Simba headband that we got in Tokyo.
Yeah,
so like you could do a Simba bound with that to kind of have like the lion ears and stuff.
Right. So yeah, you just have to find something that is going to kind of remind somebody of the character. So it's a lot of fun to try to do. Sometimes, you know, they're more successful than others. Like I did Tomatua one time, and I feel like my outfit did not quite.
Well, it's hard when you have similar colors with other stuff.
Right. Yeah. It didn't quite hit the way that I wanted it to. But like I tried to wear a bunch of like gold on and around me because of, you know, how much gold he has on his
shiny,
back. And then I also like had a headband that I got off of Etsy that was his eyes. So, and then I wore a purple purse that, you know, went along with his color scheme. But again, I mean, it was pretty subtle. And then the only reason why people would probably know what I was doing is because I was with other people that were Disney bounding really well as villains.
And the thing is with this one, the interesting thing about Disney bounding, and this why this is like a hidden thing. And I feel like this is really a hidden thing because, again, there are hundreds, if not thousands of people every day in a Disney park, every single day Disney bounding. And if you aren't looking for it, you can walk past them and you will never know.
Nope.
But if you're looking, and again, if it's an obvious character, it's a character you know and you can kind of see it, you'll see it and then you'll start seeing like, oh, is that a Disney bound? Is that a Disney bound?
Mm-hmm.
And if you do see people that are Disney bounding and it is a character you know, tell them, hey, nice bound. Be like, hey, I I love your Scar. I love your Ariel.
Well, don't tell them you love their Scar because that may come across
Scar bound,
like kind of weird, you know.
Okay, Mufasa, Ariel.
Well, no, you could say, oh, are you Disney bounding a Scar? I love that. Exactly. He's my favorite character.
Because people love it.
Yeah,
people love
it's
like
really cool.
If you're bounding, again, it's subtle enough that, again, you can kind of blend into the day, but you kind of love when you get that recognition.
Yeah, if you're a person who likes to get attention sometimes, like I do, then it's a good way. Like, it's almost like wearing a happy birthday pin, whenever they give you those, I'm celebrating my anniversary or whatever.
Or any of those, yeah.
But instead of that, it's like I'm celebrating that this is my favorite character, and cast members a lot of times will comment to you and say, oh,
the cast members are usually the ones that comment the most because, again, they kind of see you in line and they know what people are doing.
Right.
Whereas, again, like guests don't see you. But take a look.
I've gotten comments from guests about my lounge fly bags.
Yeah.
But not usually about my bounds.
Kind of related to Disney bounding, and maybe like another step further.
Yeah.
Are Dapper Days.
Yep.
And this is, you don't have to be Disney bounding, but I have seen like crossovers where people do Dapper Disney bounds and kind of combine both of these fandoms. But the idea for Dapper Days is you dress up in
to the nines, your
fanciest outfit that you possibly have.
And a lot of times it seems to me like we accidentally went during Dapper Days one time.
So Dapper Days happens a couple times throughout the year. So there's a whole website. Somebody kind of started this. I forget his name. I apologize. But if you search Dapper Days, you'll find the site, and he has more information about himself. But he just wanted to kind of like dress up and go to a place where he could dress up and wouldn't stand out. And he thought Disney parks would be a great place to go. And then he kind of started talking about it.
He wanted to stand out, but like not in a, like he didn't want to look weird.
Right. But a place where he and his friends could do that. And so Disney, became the a place to go to and do that, and it kind of took on a life of its own. So they have like official Dapper Day meetups like 4 or 5 times throughout the year, but I do feel like some people just go and maybe they're not there for an official Dapper Day, but like they'll wear like their outfits like that. Mm-hmm. And then again, like I have seen this where like maybe you do a Snow White and Prince Charming bound, but you do those as suits and like ball gowns, or very like fancy dresses. I don't know, you might not be able to do like a full ball gown at Disney, but like seeing something like that, like you can kind of combine those two. Thinking about this, it really got me thinking a really awesome like Dapper Day outfit, and something I really want to do now is like a Haunted Mansion one with like
tails, like a suit coat with tails.
Yeah, like just like the color scheme of Haunted Mansion, maybe like a pocket square with skulls in it, a top hat, like
as a way to tip your hat.
Yeah.
At like the bride.
Yeah, I mean you could dress, they have with like the stretching
Constance
room.
Hatchaway.
Well, you could do that, but they have the stretching room, like the woman with the parasail. Like I mean, like there's so much you could do with like a Haunted Mansion, like Dapper Day crossover.
Isn't it a parasol? A parasail is
okay, yes.
Yes, or we could just say umbrella.
Umbrella, yeah. I was trying to be too fancy with it. It backfired on me.
Yeah, a little bit. You were talking about dapperness. You were trying to be fancy.
I was. But wouldn't that be awesome? Wouldn't Haunted Mansion, like a dapper outfit for that, be incredible?
It would be very, very, very cool. Yeah, I love that idea. I love the idea of Dapper Days. I would like to do that at some point, although I don't know what I would do about footwear. I mean, I guess like, the young kids nowadays they've kind of put in Converse and wearing Converse or things like that with dresses. So I guess you could do that.
I also feel like this is not something I could do in July.
Oh,
like this would have to
not.
be winter. Like I could not dress up that much in the summer at Disney World.
Right. Well, another thing that we vaguely touched on, and I realized that kind of as we've been talking throughout the episode, that some people might not actually realize this is going on, is pin trading. if you are in the Disney fandom, you might, anybody can go into a pin shop and see the pins that they have, but you might not realize that there are boards around that you can find in various stores. You might not realize if you see a cast member who is wearing their pins like visibly on like, sometimes they wear them on like crossbody bags, or sometimes they have like a lanyard with them. You can trade with them.
Right.
So pin trading is a lot of fun. And sometimes, there's not usually like the great pins that you buy from like the pin stores, but sometimes people buy like the starter packs and you get like a character that you really enjoy, or you find an interesting pin or one that's very old.
Like international ones too.
Yeah, sometimes
like
you can find international ones or limited edition pins. So it's just a really fun activity to do. Again, that's something that anybody can do. And I just kind of wanted to, mention it because it's something that some people might not know exists.
Yeah. All right, I want to close out here with hidden Mickeys. I think probably a lot of people are familiar with this, but if you're not, throughout the Disney parks attractions, even in the movies and stuff, like Imagineers, animators, they hide like the little Mickey Mouse logo, the face and the ears
the 3 circles.
And stuff. Yeah, and stuff. And so it's fun to try to find those throughout the parks. There's actually whole books on where all the hidden Mickeys are if you want to actually see them and try to find them. I think there's thousands of them in the parks. The coolest one though happens this is Walt Disney World, in the queue for the Journey of the Little Mermaid, and it only happens once a year at noon. So it happens on November 18th on Mickey's birthday at noon. The Imagineers, when they were making that queue, built it so that it only happens when the sun is at the certain point in the sky on the 18th at noon. It shines in, and on the rock work, it creates a hidden Mickey from the sun. And it's the only time you can see it. And people go and line up in the queue to see this. Yeah. It's incredible.
Yeah. So the rock work is done in such a way that the light coming through the rocks creates
a hidden Mickey.
Yeah.
But
so
only that
can
point
you
in
imagine though, if you go to Disney to see this and you're so excited about it and it's a cloudy day, how mad would you be?
Yeah, I feel like Florida's not that cloudy though.
It's
there's always a lot of sun.
But they do have storms. So, you could have
not November though. November's usually pretty good.
I don't know, except for that one time we went in November and it was cold and kind of rainy.
Yeah, it was
cold.
Right. Yeah. But for the most part, I think you're usually pretty good on November. But yeah, it's just, again, the level of detail of doing that, just absolutely incredible. That it only happens at that time of year is just amazing. So, all right. So that wraps up the show for this week. Again, just some of our favorite hidden things, kind of the iceberg of Disney to get into. Some things that kind of help you maybe next time you go. Hey, I want to try Disney bounding.
Take your trip to the next level.
Yeah, I want to try a tour, something like that. Of just kind of get deeper and deeper into the fandom.
And also, these things are always meant to be fun. So if they're stressing you out,
don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
If you don't do any of this stuff, you'll still have a great time.
Yeah, you're going to have a good time.
If you do one of these things,
these are just ways that, if you wanted to do a little extra, or even maybe you go frequently and you're like, oh, you know what? I know about those 3 things, but actually you mentioned something else that I'd never really thought of or noticed. So I'm going to look for that and maybe I'll even do it. So again, they're low pressure things just to try to make your trip more enjoyable.
100%. So I want to thank everybody again for listening this week. Please leave us a rating or a review. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast. It really helps, and we really appreciate it.
Thanks for lending us your ears.
Have a great week, everybody, and we'll see you here next Monday.
Bye-bye.